rise for this meeting to begin. I call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask Mr. Griffin, if you would, to give us the invitation, please, sir.
Let us pray. Our God and Father in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for the cooler weather you sent this way. And now as we come to our council meeting this evening, give us wisdom, knowledge, and give us prudence in the decisions we make for the city as a whole. All these things we ask in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Gentlemen, you've got the agenda there. Is there any amendments that we need to make to that? Any suggestions of changes? That sounds good. I entertain a motion that we approve the agenda as printed. Mr. Johnson's made the motion that we approve the agenda and seconded by Mr. Ramey. Any further discussion about the agenda? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, our work is cut out for us. You said Ms. Hutchison was going to be here?
She is here.
Oh.
Lois, you'll need to step to the mic, please.
Yeah. Come right here.
Can I give this to you first?
Sure, you can do anything you want to.
There's enough for everybody.
You say they're all the same?
Yep, the whole package is for each of you.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead and get started, ma'am.
Well, I guess you got the agenda, so you know the reason that I'm here is because of the Hazelhurst Cemetery. On March the 1st, 2018, I purchased 8 cemetery lots from the city of Hazelhurst. Within the purchase of those lots, I was given a contract with expectations and a reasonable care would be taken of the ground and the plots where my loved one now lies. It's been 19 months now that the city of Hazelhurst has fell short on that contract. I've reached out to the city of Hazelhurst for the last 12 months trying to get them to stand behind the contract that the city of Hazelhurst is selling. I started with Vernice, which she stated that it's been ongoing problems with the cemetery and others have complained as well, but there was nothing they could do about it. The last time they removed someone's old flowers and belongings, they had a gun drawn on them. Her suggestion as the leader of the city of Hazelhurst was for me to speak to Ken Williams. But in my defense, I didn't purchase the contract from Ken Williams, I purchased it from the city of Hazelhurst. So my next step was to reach out to Bane Stone. Being that his signature was on the contract as well, I reached out to Bane by telephone and told him the problem within the cemetery, and his response was we could meet there at 5 o'clock that afternoon. That afternoon there was no Bane nor no telephone call back to say he wasn't coming. I tried to reach out to Bane on several different occasions, but he wouldn't take my call. I sent text messages with the pictures of my problems, still nothing from Bane. My next step was Eric Griffin. He also is a signature on the contract. I went to Advance to speak with Eric about it since he's wanting to run for mayor and uphold the leadership position. When I got there, he was with a customer, so I told another employee I was there to talk with Eric and I would wait. Eric continued with his customer, and then when the customer left, he turned and went to the back and didn't even acknowledge me. So I left my phone number with the employee with my name and said please tell him to call me. I'm still waiting for that call. Although I'm pretty certain the reason Eric didn't get back to me is because his wife and daughter tried to sue me for my mother's property. I started receiving Facebook messages from his daughter 3 hours after my mama passed away. Yeah, you heard that right, 3 hours. Not only was I grieving the loss of my mother and faced with making funeral arrangements, I had her sending me messages wanting to see a will that didn't pertain to her at all. So I'm fully confident that's why I didn't get that call back. With that being said, the city of Hazelhurst does not need a mayor that's going to show favoritism and not address problems in the community because his wife and daughter has problems with the individual. So, as pillars of the community and supposed to be leaders in this community, y'all can't even give a call back or uphold a written contract that the councilmen are signing. Now, with all that being said, the rest of you can see where my frustration is coming from. All I'm asking is for the city of Hazelhurst to uphold the contract or do away with it. I'd like to put coping around the 8 lots that I own, but once again, the contract stands in that way. My personal opinion, the coping would save city workers less mow time and would look a lot nicer. So that is what I'm here for.
Is this your, parents', lot, did you,
No, that's the neighbor beside my mother.
oh, this is,
In the contract, it says 1 flower, no decorations and all that. I went by that contract.
okay, so we don't have a picture of yours at all?
Yeah, my mom's is the very last one. Yep, that's my mom. If you could see where the city of Hazlehurst, they mow grass, they blow it all over the stones, they throw rocks all over it. If I had the coping around it, then that wouldn't happen.
Is that what you were wanting to talk with Bain and Eric about, was the...
Yeah,
putting
just
the
about this
coping
contract,
around the-
because I think there's about 5 of y'all that signed it, if I'm correct. Bain signed it, Eric signed it, you signed it, Tommy Purser signed it, I went and talked to Tommy. So now I'm talking to all y'all.
Is there an ordinance against putting the coping
Yes.
around the...
In the ordinance,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
you've actually got a new one that's coming before you. As she stated, and this was one of the things that I brought out when we were discussing this ordinance, you have on one page says you can't put coping, and another section, it says you can.
Yes, ma'am.
This is one of the things that I brought out when this cemetery ordinance was first brought to you all. That's why I Ken stated, you need to read this.
Well,
You
I
have a
think we need to,
contradiction
I think
of,
we need to look at it and vote on letting her put something like that around her mother's
and
plot.
see, I couldn't tell her she could because we had a contradiction of a statement that was voted on by council and approved.
Well, and the lot that's beside my mother's, they have like 50 flowers. It's not 1 flower, there's like 50 flowers, about 25 decorations. They put a bench out there. I don't call that a bench, I call it a half of a concrete slab that they put out there that's taking up a lot of space. But when the wind blows and it rains, all of that stuff is everywhere out there, and when I go to visit my mother, I have to pick it off of her grave. When the contract plainly says, you cannot have loose decorations. It shall be unlawful for any person to place loose decorations, whatnots, trinkets, glasswares, toys, or any other items on the slab monument within the city.
What kind of
Well, first of all, let
coping
me,
you put up there?
let me interrupt you. just a
Coping
minute.
is what goes around all your lots that you have, the regular coping that you buy from the monument place.
I got you.
But they know the city of Hazlehurst don't allow you to have it out there, so they won't even put it out there.
I want to apologize, for not meeting you, honey, I just forgot, I mean, and I tell you the truth.
But I reached out to you several times after you forgot,
I
and you
didn't
would never
sound,
return
well,
my phone call.
let me say this to you. One of my real bragging points is I keep this in my pocket and by my bed at night, and I answer sometimes at 9 and 10 o'clock at night. And I do not recall, in fact, maybe I've got Alzheimer's, but I don't remember you calling, any call that I didn't take. I don't.
You should have pictures on there from me, 'cause I have pictures on my phone where I sent to you.
I'd be glad
And
for
just,
somebody-
and another thing too, I don't even know who you were, I don't have a clue who you are, so my wife and my daughter, I don't know I know what you're talking about now, but I don't have a clue who you are as far as that goes. I didn't know anything about that, so, I mean, that
We're
doesn't
sorry.
really matter. And I apologize for not calling you back on that. But like I said, as far as the other part of it, I don't have a clue, I didn't have a clue who you were at all, so that's...
I left my name and
regardless.
number, but you never bothered to reach out.
Okay, well, if I didn't, then I apologize for
We're
that.
I think we need to review the contract and make it correct for you.
Oh, most definitely, because
but-
right now, the city of Hazlehurst is breaching the contract, because you're not upholding what you have in it, but yet you're continuing selling the contract, but you're not upholding what's in the
Well,
contract.
I'm not gonna say yes or no, because I haven't reviewed the contract.
I have
But,
one here for you. Would you like to see
I think
it?
it's something that we need to do, that we need to make sure that that contract is upheld for you, but, and I do apologize for any things like that. I don't see the reason myself why coping couldn't be put out there, but we need to review it. If we say that we've got things that are contradictory from one page to another, it's not a very good contract to start with. So we will have to look into this for you.
Okay.
I concur with him.
Yes,
If you
ma'am.
will, honey, you've got the old contract currently, is that right? The one that you actually signed. Tell me what page, so, 'cause we've got a new ordinance that's coming before council
Right.
tonight, and I want us to look at this
I
tonight.
have to go on.
Let me ask you this, are these the same graves?
No.
No,
The monument,
One- one's
headstone's
next to
the
the
same,
side.
but
no, they're both different.
This, I'm sorry you're going through this, but this is not the first time since the cemetery been there that we've had this. No one is supposed to do this. The coping,
look at that, put that down.
the coping, the reason, a couple mayors that we went through, they decided not to do it because a lot of the family, once they died, that lot actually grows up. That's what we're having a problem with the Hazelhurst Cemetery. Some of the families moved out. Well, inside that lot and the gravel and the concrete, that grass grows, and once you put the coping down, nobody is supposed to go around it or go up there by it. That's why they decided not to. I've been here for years, and this has come up several times. No one is supposed to be doing this. At the last supervisor over Public Works, they gave each family, I think it was like, when you first put someone there, the grave, they would leave it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, old flowers and things, and then they would move it. Trinkets and all like this was never supposed to be put out there unless it was put in a vase or something stationary. Rocks and things around those graves was not supposed to.
Johnny,
Well, these people that are next to my mom, they have even took a bird bath
Okay.
or some kind of thing and
Pass this
concreted it
around.
into the ground.
Let me tell you what, the last supervisor that we had, before that, the way he handled it, and I was over that department, the way he handled it, they would give them so
Marianne,
many
that's
weeks.
correct.
We would go through every so often and clean it. You know, they wouldn't wait like 2 months or 3 months. They'll wait so many weeks, and he'll go out every so often, and those graves was cleaned off and was taking them to Public Works. They would notify the family, this could not be. You don't do it. So we got a new supervisor. I don't know if that's where the problem come in or not, but regardless of where it's at, this is not supposed to be there. And we've gone through this several times before. So the way the old one done, like I'm saying now, he would go out every so often, and all those graves, it was clean. If they didn't have a flower in it had to be like from the monument place, something that's made. They're not even supposed to be putting these concrete pots out there. None of that is supposed to be put in that cemetery so you could get up to the grave and clean them.
Well, the grave beside my mom's, if you look in the picture, they put white rocks all around there. So when the city workers go through and mow, those white rocks get thrown on my mom's grave. So eventually they're going to chip the headstone. And then I'm going to even be more mad.
Well, we again, I'm just telling you, it has happened, and we just got to get a plan rolled up to make sure that they go out and clean it off. Because once all this is put out at the grave, some people put their personal thing because they want to decorate their loved ones. And we had such a problem with this one time. Well, I won't dig into what, such a problem that this individual did not even want you to walk next to the grave. So they had to try to make sure that you get it uniform. And I mean, it really got touchy because the law had to be involved in this council because of this, because of their loved ones. And that's why they're not supposed to be putting this out there. They're supposed to keep it with just a thing of flour, with nothing but those. It's supposed to be a slab from the monument place on that grave, or either flush with the dirt.
Right.
So that's what she's,
Okay.
that's what she's
Yeah.
complaining about. Let's move along. Yes,
Let
ma'am?
me insert something.
All right.
In your new cemetery ordinance,
Mm-hmm.
go to section 3-40. It's in your packet tonight. Item I,
Wait a minute,
3-4.
3-40, under memorial,
40.
go to I.
Cecil's allowed to have it.
Read it again now. Slabs and coping are permitted except in the Hazlehurst Memorial Cemetery.
That's right.
Coping is permitted in the Hazlehurst Memorial Cemetery only when used to join graves together with concrete and rock. All installations must have concrete under the rock. Flip over to the back page. A permit under section 3-41. A permit is required for the installation, removal, or repair of any monument, marker, and/or coping within the city cemetery. You now have a contradiction of statements.
But the thing about it is, we have the authority to allow people to put coping, so we need to address this, so it's.
Well, remember now, let me say this now, let's be careful. We've made enough mistakes. When you put coping, you're also restricting, when you get, in this area, it seems that there's space out here. But in a lot of places, you don't have space, and you're complicating your mower from getting in there. Now, when you put that piece of marble up this high, coping creates a problem. That's the reason they didn't want any coping to start with it. That's the reason. Because coping, even though it's a good idea, you can put coping around your grave and then protect it with rock and keep all the weeds and everything out of there. I have that with my wife and my family. And I did take Roundup and go around it, and but I'm not in this cemetery, I'm in another one. But out there, where you've got so many graves in such a big area, coping creates a problem for mowing, y'all. A big problem, and that's the reason that we've tried not to have it, so that the grass cutter can get around and get through. So, we've done a poor job of enforcing it, ma'am. I thought I didn't know who was coming in, and I'm sorry. We just made a bad mistake with you. So you'll just have to, our face is red and we're sorry. But now let me tell you what, you're not the only one that's unhappy about the cemetery. There's people that's come to me and said, I'm embarrassed that my parents' grave is over up with weeds. And there's one place uptown where the limbs and trees are grown over and you couldn't hardly find the grave. Of course, now let me say this in defense. It wouldn't happen with my wife's and my mother and daddy's grave. I'd go there and cut it myself. But at any rate, we're supposed to maintain the cemeteries, and we're supposed to maintain them like you understood it. And we've made a mistake not only with you, with others, and we need to correct it, and we're sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll try to do better.
Okay, so we're gonna change the contract, or somebody's gonna have all that cleaned up? 'Cause if we
Well,
don't get the coping, that's fine, I can do without the coping, but I'm not gonna abide by the contract and allow others to have what they want when I want something too.
I can see where you'd be frustrated, and I understand. I'm sorry. We'll try to handle it. That's the only thing we can tell you right now, because we've got a conflict in our ordinance already, and we're trying to adopt now. It's a contradiction, so we've got work to do. And you pointed it out very well. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, sir.
Again, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Lord. Appreciate it.
All right, sorry folks it took so long there. Let's move along. As you can tell, by the way, honey, whoa, would you like these pictures back?
No, it's fine.
Lois,
Well, we-
what's the phone number that we can reach you at?
347-9540.
9540?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Harris, now we got off to a good start. Let's see if you can put icing on the cake.
Well.
And you be nice.
You're on the right track.
You be nice now.
To the mayor and administrative council and to all the councilmen, good evening. It looks as if we're on the right subject. And I'd like to ask two questions right now. It sounds as if the city has an in-depth ordinance already.
Yeah, we're working on it tonight.
All right. The ordinance, is that the same for all city cemeteries, like county cemeteries?
Well, no, there's a lot of, we don't have any jurisdiction over it all.
Okay, My concern is that for some time now, I have spoken with members of the council about the cemetery on Young Street.
Owned by the city.
All right, and my concern is that for years, the cemetery has been disrespected and really degraded. In that we have, and when I'm say we, because it's the responsibility of the community also, have allowed people to park their cars on top of graves, have allowed them to use beer bottles and set on the graves.
Why don't you notify the council and the people, the public, what cemetery, where are you talking about?
On Young Street behind the Antioch Baptist Church.
Okay, all right, now, of course, we've got a public park there adjacent to the cemetery of Antioch Church.
That's
But
correct.
that's the church property, and our ordinances that you see us dealing with here and what the lady was talking about there, that is a city-owned cemetery, and we are responsible for that. But now your church and the police department are supposed to help the church maintain theirs, but we don't have an obligation to, is it Antioch? Antioch Church Cemetery, that's their cemetery, and we need to help them some way fence it or do something to protect the cemetery. But that is not our responsibility, except for general, like with your yard, you have to put your fence up in your yard, but if somebody's running into your yard, we need to call the chief of police and have somebody arrested, you see.
Okay, but isn't there a law on desecration of graves?
I would think so, yes, sir.
Okay, so therefore, if there's a law of desecration...
I've known people going to prison for desecrating a grave.
Okay, being that there's a law, it is a city responsibility.
Yes.
You know, although it's, and I wouldn't say owned by the church, because it was allowed to bury people on this property.
Yes.
Now, being that there is a law covering the desecration of cemeteries or graves, and we have allowed it openly, you know, to go on. The city had, I had brought it to the city's attention some time ago, and I think at the time you was getting a ground penetrating radar.
We have that.
And I was there when the young lady and the city employees come up with this radar, and they was getting training on how to use this radar.
Yeah.
And I asked the city at the time to go over the grave to see if we can locate the graves up by the road, and we was able to locate them. The young lady was able to locate some graves. Now, right now, cars have just used it as it's like a road. And they have moved, you know, when they first started, they was parked up by the road, but by not saying anything, by allowing this to continue, they have moved all the way to half of that cemetery. And they have run over the graves where the concrete slabs have just about been buried. And my concern is this: I know people that were buried there, people that I have great respect for. You know, they helped raise me. And to see this done to those graves and to go ignored by, and I hate to put the blame on you guys, because it is the community responsibility too to say something. But I think it's time now that we do say something. And I think it's time now that you do something. And I see here on number 7 that you are adopting your first reading of the cemetery ordinance for adoption. And I hope it can cover some of the laws.
It has nothing to do with your cemetery you're talking about, and Glenn, let me say this to you, and I'm your friend, and I'm a friend of those church members, and I don't want anybody's grave desecrated and done. But now, we don't have any right to go on private property. That's private property, just like if I went to your house and started putting up a fence. That's private property, and the city has no responsibility there, except to help you.
Well, that's the question I asked, my first question.
Yeah.
The law that governs desecration of graves.
Yeah, then you call the sheriff and the solicitor, and you start prosecuting and that sort of thing, and it gets to be a court case. But as far as this mayor and council having any responsibility, now let me say this now. We're really in a difficult situation tonight. We've got a man here that we rely on to help us when we get into these sorts of situations, but with 50 years of experience, I can tell you pretty well that that's private property. But we've got a park sitting there, a public park, which is public property. And those people are gathering at that park, and so that does put us sort of responsible too. It's our park, and our park there is overflowing into the cemetery. So again, sort of like we had with the little lady a few minutes ago, we've got a problem, and we're all sensible and caring people for one another. Now, we'll just have to do our best to try to work it out and solve the problem. You're doing a good job of addressing it.
Lynn, may I say something just a minute, please? You and I have talked about this. I met again with the stewards and the board of directors of Antioch, and Carl had been out sick. They did go up, I think, what is the day? Thursday? They went up Tuesday, either yesterday, and identified the graves. He got them marked off. He marked it. And because he's the one that knows how to use this, the radar now, because he's been sick, he went up and identified them. I talked with them about it, and I've got the city, and we are in process now of trying to find some rails to help us to do with the parking. And before Jeff left, that's what happened. We ran out of rails, else would have come all the way around, which would have controlled the city land as far as down near Young Street and back of it. And the state ran out of rails, and that's why that had not been done. But we did identify. I do have to meet with the stewards again, because now that we've got those graves identified, we got to mark them. People won't be running over it once you get them marked, I hope. Because those people, some of those people are put in boxes. They've been there so long. And those graves, like Glenn was saying, some of the dirt and all may be done, gone back up. They may have to work on upgrading the cemetery some. So if we can meet with them, because like I said, I've met with them in the last 3 weeks about 5 times with the stewards and with the pastor. And I met with them, and they know what's going on with that now. But they did identify the graves, and there's about 3 of them that they have been running over.
That area is, I've got the cursor right behind you, Glenn, on the screen there. There's that's the church right there, and this is the park, and that's the tree you're talking about right there where the cursor's going around. And the cemetery is right here behind the church. And what Mr. Johnson is trying to say is that we've got a heavy metal rail to keep cars from going into the park. And it appears that we need to take that rail and extend it on down here to keep cars from going in. But then here's what we found out after we got started with that. They're coming back over here and coming in on private property, in here to it. And then another thing we found out, over on this street, they can drive in back over here. So now again, we want to help you. We own a public park there that's got we got some responsibility. But now that's private property. The church needs to fence that cemetery. And that'll solve it. We can't stop them from fencing their cemetery. That's their property, and they can fence it. And if they'll do that, then that'll solve about 99.9% of the problem.
This area here that you spoke of, I hear what you're saying, and, you know, we have talked with this about some years now, not the first time. There's a certain amount of responsibility that is shared between the church and this private property and the desecration of cemetery, of graves.
Oh, yeah.
There is
You can bring a case against anybody
a
out there.
little warm area there.
Yeah, you can bring a case against anybody out there on that grave,
Yes,
absolutely.
and that's what I'm speaking of. It has to be enforced now. You know, it's been what, I guess the first time I brought this up, about, what, 5, 6 years ago.
Okay, a good fence makes good neighbors.
Mhm.
Mhm.
A good fence makes good neighbors. And, so you better, talk to, of course, now, we're gonna try to help you with that rail, but like I said, after we got it and looked at it and seeing where they're all coming in, well, that ain't gonna help you a bit, when they go around the other side of the building and come off the other street and come in. So we've got a real problem there. Just like with the little lady here before, it's all something we all want to do, and, sometimes we're overloaded, but we'll try to help you with it.
Okay, well, we'll just stop it right here, and I'll look into it a little bit more. And,
Okay, and be assured now, we want to help you.
mhm.
We've got some responsibility. Absolutely, we've got some responsibility. And being right there with the park, we've attracted people and traffic there, and joining that cemetery, we've definitely got a responsibility. Maybe we need to put up a fence at the park.
Well, like I said, you know, the park is there, that's city property, and, you know, if people that's, using the park, if they are desecrating the grave, then that does fall on city responsibility.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't have some responsibility, at all.
But, I won't hold your time up anymore, I'll just look, you know, some things I need to look into, and, I'd like to come back and speak on it later.
I think I can speak for all this crowd up here. There's not a one up here that won't help you if they can.
Thank you, Glenn.
Everyone up here.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
All right, Rory, you and Terry, if y'all gonna keep down the same path, is it gonna get any sweeter? Come on up here, we can take it.
We wanna do y'all a favor. Thank y'all for hearing us.
Oh, yeah, we're glad to see you, and we appreciate y'all. Oh, by the way, before you get started, I think everybody here knows it, these people are doing a tremendous job downtown in putting new life in our downtown area. And boy, do we appreciate what
Absolutely, thank
what
you
y'all
for
are
that.
doing. So we'll start with that. We're your friends, I tell you.
It's definitely a labor of love, I can promise you that. We wanted to address the alley. As the city knows, there's been issues with that building forever with the sewage. And just today, there was an issue with the water. I'm not a plumber, so I don't know how that works, but, our personal issue is, we would like ownership of that alley, and we would pay to have the trunk line and all that repaired, simply because, some things are gonna be kinda graphic when I say them, but when we first, started working on that alley, it was, you could tell vagrants had been there, people had been sleeping there. I cannot count how many used,
Okay.
Yeah.
We got it.
You
You know where I'm going with it.
You've gone far enough.
liquor bottles, beer bottles, clothing with human waste, just a really bad place that people abused and, you know, went back there and did all kind of stuff. So, now that we're cleaning it up, it has lessened tremendously. But we still find the occasional, like, hypodermic needles, for example. People go back there and do drugs. It's in town, it's a little private place people can slip down, you know. And just recently, you know, the Mocha on Main, they open at, is it 5 or 6? They open at 6 a.m. Young employees, young female employees, and this man meant no harm, but it could have been somebody that meant harm, but he got in an argument with a relative and needed a place to go hide. So he was hiding in our alley when our girls got there, or I say our girls, they're my friends, but when the girls got there to work. So it was a scary situation for them, even though he meant no harm. We would like to take possession of the alley so we can gate it at night and keep it safe for the employees that go back there, and keep it clean. And it's fixing to be a public area anyway during the day, so we naturally want to protect our property and whatever's back there. But we would be willing to pay for the plumbing issues ourselves if we could get ownership of the alley.
I've talked to with the attorney being gone and knowing that you folks were coming with this, I went to him with this project and outlined, what you folks are trying to do. And of course, we've got that area behind you there on the screen again. There's, Terry, your building is right here. And then this is the alley. You can't see it very well right in here. And then but the one problem that we've run into, we've abandoned a lot of alleys through the years here, and it's a custom that if, let's say, you on this side of this room over here, and here's the alley, and Mary Ann owns this side, if you abandon the alley, the rule is that Mary Ann gets half the alley, and the other gets half the alley, and it's when the council votes to dispose of it, and I've surveyed a lot of them through the years. We've got one problem with yours that we run into.
Oh, no.
That alley goes all the way through out to the railroad street out there. But there's a segment that they used to repair lawnmowers that went behind those other buildings where they went in to get their trash. So Ken mentioned to me, he says, tell them that we'll get on it immediately and find out what kind of access is back there. Terry, do you know anything about that? With your, you know, where they worked on the mowers, and then that thing went on back even behind the beauty shop, all back there for ways. You understand that? He says that there may be some legality of access to other ownerships back there. And so we've got to look into that. But now we are working on it for you, and let me tell you what, we want you to have it. We were anxious.
I told you we was gonna do your favor.
We're anxious for you to have it.
Thank you for that.
All we got to do is figure out exactly how to get it done.
We're willing.
We was repairing the
Yeah.
water leak today, and we'd be glad to give you that.
Well, we want, naturally, we want sewage and water working, but we want to keep it a safe place, just, you know, for the employees, and a nice outdoor area for the public to come and visit during
I
the
haven't
day.
looked it up lately, Terry, you probably can tell this better than next hour, whichever one. Has Bob Sears bought the old Mills dry goods store?
I haven't heard that.
I heard that today. So nobody else has heard
I ain't
that?
heard that.
Well, I heard that here again, erase that now so we can get that verified. But if that's the case, even with that parking lot we got there, see, if that alley went all the way through, whoever owns that back corner right there, we've got to deal with them as well. So they may want a segment of that.
When you say the back corner, do you mean the parking lot between Terry's building and the railroad?
And the railroad.
Okay, see, I always thought that was city property.
Well, we've taken it over and that's a city parking lot, but now it's the end of it, some of that may be that alley that's still,
got you.
and if we do away with that, it may be that old mill store is entitled to a segment of that as well.
Okay.
So we've got some legalities to work out, but Lord knows, we want y'all to have it,
Okay,
okay?
all right,
So
thank you.
with what y'all doing, in fact, we talked about these anything that we got down there.
Don't tell me that, and I'll come back with a list. Thank y'all.
But we
Thank
are
y'all.
working on it.
Thank y'all for
And
all
the
we've
attorney,
done.
the attorney's already, he and I are talking about it, and we're researching it already.
Okay, I appreciate it, thank y'all.
Good, thank you. And again, thank you for all y'all are doing.
Thank you.
All right. Discuss the CDBG grant and the G-Flow. Now, that's two different things, now let's don't get them mixed up. Is that yours, Mr. Raymond?
That's yours,
Mine?
right there.
Okay, well,
Just
The
a change in it.
okay, now, the G-Flow, that's the second part. Now, the CDBG is the water lines, there's two different topics there that's put together. The CDBG, the first item, we got a $750,000 grant to put water and sewer and fire hydrants in, what is it?
Sewer?
Huh?
Sewer's in it?
25. Water.
Water and fire.
Is it just water alone?
I think it's just water.
Pretty sure it's water.
Is it, okay, but at any rate, that's all in an area, and, is one project, and that's a totally different item. That, the attorney brought to, Bernice today, or she went and got, how many, about 70 or 80? 65 easements that we've got to go up and down Hazel Street and whatnot, and get temporary easements to go in and put in these new water lines and put those fire hydrants in. And since it's temporary, just during construction, the restriction on getting these easements, if, let's say it belongs to Aunt Mary, and she lives in Connecticut. But her niece, or nephew, John or Jane, lives in the house, and they're the occupant of it. As long as that person is connected with the owner, then they can sign a temporary easement for us to do the construction and have it witnessed, and those temporary construction easements can be signed, and we've got 65 of them.
It's about 6 that we gotta get as a permanent easement.
That's a different thing.
Ballgame.
Those, you've got to take the owner of the property, if they lived in Athens, Greece, you've got to send that thing to Athens, Greece, to get it signed, to seal, to notarize it back. But now, the contract has got to be, we've got to hasten and get this done. We've only got 10 or 12 permanent easements. And according to him, he didn't think it was gonna be too much of a problem, he just about got those ready. But the detail of these 65 has got a lot of footwork, and we've got to help with it, so I may be calling on you to help. And now, one thing that was suggested too, Bernice, and I haven't got this all to the girls in the office in there, but one thing we can do is flag these immediately when they come in and pay the water bill, whoever's paying the water bill at that address. We don't need to let somebody come in here and pay a water bill on what we need their signature on, and let them come in here and leave without getting it. So we need in the morning, as quick as we can, make a list of that and put out there. And if anybody comes in with a water bill on that, we need to catch them then. And a lot of them will be paying the water bill in the next few days, so that will be one way to help track down some of that.
Yeah, because, on those temporary right-of-way easements, you can't just take it and let them sign it. And the witness has got to
Notary.
witness the signature, and it's got to be notarized. And that notary, before she puts her seal on it, has got to see that person sign it.
Okay, now that's the first, the CDBG, that's that, 700. Now the second is the Jeep loan, and I need to, this is where the fire hydrants are coming in, and here's the last word I got on September the 17th, today's the 19th, this is 2 days old. It's actually not 2 days, well, it is. I just spoke to Ashley Jones with GFA. Your project is scheduled to go back to the board on November the 7th to increase your principal forgiveness grant up to a maximum of $500,000. In other words, it was 460, 460, okay, it's going up to another $40,000. We will need to send them an updated total project cost so that it can reflect that on the new loan documents. They will overnight the package to you, so you should receive it on November the 8th. As soon after that, your council can approve it. So as soon as we get this, this GFA loan includes that, that pipeline that you see right there. That starts at the Gill Street well, right down here. And they're close to Googes, we'll say. Goes over to Plum Street, goes around over to Pine Street, around by the park. That's the park there, where the old swimming pool used to be. Back up Plum, back out to 221, going out by the golf course. There's the golf course. Turns on Yon Road, and there's going up the treatment plant, and there's Sawmill out there. So from here to there.
It does include that, but it is not specific that that's the only thing that it can do.
That's correct, that's only a segment of it. And with that getting out of the way, the loan package is gonna be reduced by that amount.
Yes.
So it's getting more and more chewable. But at any rate, we won't be able to do anything, we won't be able to do anything with this until we're notified about the grant for this segment of it, and then this will come up. So we're in a waiting pattern. Any other questions about that? Let's move along. We're taking too long on a lot of things here. Okay, I've got no alternate to the suggestion of the Housing Authority folks out there on Ms. Darley as the replacement for Ms. Who was on there so long?
Parrish.
Yeah, Ms. Wilhelmina. And this is to replace Ms. Wilhelmina, who spent many, many years on the Housing Authority Board. Does anybody else have any other suggestions, or nobody Nobody has any, okay. I entertain a motion that we, authorize the authority's recommendation and appoint Ms. Denise Darley, for the Hazelhurst Housing Authority.
Make a motion
Mr. Griffin makes a motion that we accept their nomination of Ms. Denise Darley, it's seconded by Mr. Ramey. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll notify Bernice notify Ms. Darley that she's a newly appointed member of the Hazelhurst
Well,
Housing.
you and I have to sign the document.
Well, whatever, just take care of it, will you?
Yes.
When y'all talk with them, can you please ask them for my behalf, though? Can they, when they know they got a vacancy coming up, give us a span of time so that if we have somebody that we want to recommend,
We do have that opportunity.
yes, they need to let us know if somebody's coming off, like this year, we need to at least know ahead. So if we want to recommend somebody,
That's what I said
thank
Monday
you.
night.
Okay.
I have a question, doesn't the county advertise in the paper whenever they have a...
Yes.
Yeah, when they're notified, see, if we had been notified of this, if we could have put a
We could have
notification that the city is in the process of seeking a replacement to fill, as well, the parish post on so and so, if anybody's interested, notify us or something, yeah. That's a good way to do it. But at any rate, I think Ms. Darley will be a very good appointment, she's a mighty fine person, and the authority has recommended her, so by the way, we've appointed her, so it's too late to cry now. All right. Huh?
She asked me if we voted, I said yes.
Yeah, we've already voted, it's done. All right, look here, Ms. Bernice, briefly tell us again about your friend and this childhood cancer thing.
Miss Regina Russell, a short friend of mine, her niece was diagnosed with childhood cancer and DIPG. She has sent a proclamation stating that for September of 2019, in memory of India's journey, she was born in 2010, at 8 years old they lost her. And she is asking that the cities within the state of Georgia sign a proclamation in support of this and having warriors against DIPG.
Okay, council, we talked about this Monday night, and I think we certainly can do this for the lady. I entertain a motion that y'all authorize me to sign this proclamation.
Offer motion.
Mr. Johnson made the motion that you authorize to sign this proclamation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bloodworth. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. We will do. All right, now then, the reading of the cemetery ordinances. How much of this have we got to do?
Hold on, wait a second before we get started, because if we gotta go back and redo anything in that coping part of it again, I don't think there's no reason to even read it.
I move that we suspend the reading of it until it's been gone through again.
All right.
I'll make the second.
Is it, motion made and seconded that we suspend the reading of the cemetery ordinance for further study. Any further discussion relative to that? Hearing none, I call the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. We'll put that on the back burner and come again. What about the adoption of the fire ordinance? Any problems with the second reading of this?
We're gonna have to read that first.
Just the preamble. Glenn, good to have you. Come as often as you will. And I hope we've been nice to you. We've tried to.
I hope I was nice to you.
You were. All right, good.
See you, Glenn.
All right. Where's, you won't be, okay. This is all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I proceed now with the second reading, and then we can adopt this fire ordinance that I think you've been waiting on finally. We apologize. Sometimes we're a little slow here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the fire and safety ordinance that this is the second reading. Whereas the city of Hazelhurst is in need of a comprehensive fire and safety code for the protection and well-being of its citizens and property within the city, and whereas the fire and safety code should provide for the establishment and duties of a fire marshal, procedures in cases of fire emergencies, burn permits, fire occupancy permits for new construction, and building codes for commercial buildings, reporting of fires, fire alarms, and fire watch requirements. Now therefore be it resolved and ordained by the City Council of the City of Hazelhurst, the Fire and Safety Code ordinances consisting of the table of contents and 9 sections to be adopted after the second reading, and written copies having been given to each member of the City Council and made available to any member of the public upon request pursuant to Section 2.2A of the city's charter. Gentlemen, I entertain a motion that we adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Mr. Raymond made a motion to adopt. the ordinance, second by Mr. Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor of adopting the ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimously adopted. Okay. The Jeff Davis High School wants a homecoming parade on September 26th at 6 p.m. I entertain a motion that we approve the parade.
Make a motion, we approve.
Mr. Griffith made a motion, we approve the Jeff Davis High School homecoming parade on September the 26th. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bloodworth. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. I entertain a motion that we approve the water and sewer adjustments, the review and report of council, and the check register.
Offer motion.
Items 10, 11, and 12. These are just routine housekeeping things for any of you that don't know. Mr. Johnson made a motion that we had to approve all three. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Raymond. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, those are all three approved. Now we're on item 13, citizens' comments. Anybody got anything hot they want to say? Be quiet, Rhonda. You say anything you want. You say anything that you want, and anybody else too. Grace, I bet y'all must not have been as loaded as those cemetery folks were. Now, they were loaded, let me tell you. I just want to go out on that poor girl. I thought somebody else that I saw was coming in here. That would have hit the car to drive across the road.
I thought that's who it was.
I thought that was who was coming up here. I didn't.
Completely different.
I answer this thing right here 24 hours a day. That's the hard part. I'm not saying she's lying, but it don't sound like me. Okay, any citizen comments? Good gracious, y'all are nice. All right, Commissioner.
To the commissioners, please remember that Tuesday, we're gonna have the in-service at 341 for the lights. And, we're still asking, to have as many officers as we can, because we're hoping to have a lot of kids, and I hope adults too, because once that section, again, I keep iterating, get up and going, you got businesses in there, it's gonna be a very busy area, so that the pedestrian will learn how to cross that road. And we're hoping that, we have a good turnout Tuesday at, 4 o'clock.
It is next Tuesday?
Yes, ma'am.
At
Yes,
4
sir.
o'clock?
Yes,
At
sir.
4 o'clock where?
But they're gonna start at the housing authority in their room, and we're gonna bring them down to the light.
They'll be over on that side of the Milton Housing Authority.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
down there.
But, I guess people will be crossing too, and I just wanna try to make sure that somebody's there to try to
Well,
help.
Chief Williams told us Monday night
Yeah.
that he would, and I'll remind him that Tuesday at 4 o'clock for him and a designee or two of his to be there to
Yes, sir.
help. That's Tuesday.
Mhm.
Okay? Anything else, council? I thought we'd be back around, we're gonna get through less than an hour here, but it's my fault.
You did good.
Let me, say this that we were talking about ahead of time. This, Boo Bash, that's the Halloween boo. I mean, it's supposed to be scary stuff. The Halloween thing downtown, we had a big meeting down there about it. Huh?
Scared me.
I know it is. It's fun, but their little Boo Bash, their little Halloween festival is gonna be right good, y'all. And I know, of course, this is a children's thing, that I have all sorts of things down there. But in that, do y'all know, I didn't, that Metz, the baseball coach, and his baseball team used that bunch of trees out beyond the Board of Education there and put up that collie back and had a haunted house as a fundraiser for raising money for the baseball team for years and years. If you've been by there lately, there ain't no trees to hang nothing on. Guess what? Somebody told them that the old city hall would make a perfect haunted house. Well, that thing is full of Christmas decorations and every kind of junk in the world. About people but the city's the same way. They have their pile stuff in there. And but at any rate, we've looked at it. And first of all, we decided that Mr. Ramey took the obligation to go to the insurance lady and make sure that our insurance would cover and that we could have that sort of stuff going on and not create a liability. Tell her what they said. Tell the folks what they said.
Ms. Reynolds just, she called the underwriter and, called me back after she, got a message from the underwriter. Says that, we've got to have a special note or special project, letter, that's signed, and we need a waiver from the school that, liability, would release us of that.
It's a standard
But
waiver.
other than that, she said, that they would authorize the use of, that if they've got those two things.
So contingent upon getting those two things that satisfy our insurance companies, and contingent upon the fact that we can get that junk out of there, so that they can have room to do it. I think that will be a good haunted house, and it's gonna be, even though it's not part of Rory and them's boo bash that they're doing on that area, it's right there joining, it's gonna be a big part of it, actually.
I'm still concerned about, the use of that upstairs portion of it, even though she said that it, would release us of liability when, we've got that done. But those steps are extremely narrow. If you hadn't been in there, it's an accident waiting to happen. I don't
Okay,
know.
we're gonna look at it a little, we're not gonna move too quick with it, and,
Is all this gonna be on the same day?
Whatever.
Will all that be on the same day?
Oh, well, the haunted house will go on for several days. As soon as they get it ready, they're gonna open it up. That's how they make their money. Yes, sir,
I
Chief?
recommend the bottom floor only.
Well, that's what we
That
want.
golf course is in such bad shape, and that if you go up there and look, there's so much, it's dropped that much, so I mean, I would not recommend.
And we think there's plenty of room for them to weave in out of the old council room and back through the office and back in there, and then finally get out in front and do what they want to do. So we're agreeing with you. Okay, so we think that's gonna happen. Did y'all know of anything else that everybody needs to know about?
What about, Little Caesars?
Little Caesars, they're fixing to open. They've
People
got,
ask on Facebook and like.
well, they've got the last piece of equipment in there now. So the last piece of equipment's in there, and they told her they were gonna open in September, and September's about gone. So it's about to open, I can tell you that, though, because all the equipment is in. So I'm sure they won't open too. Oh, yeah, you know what's holding them up now? They've got a drive-through, and Georgia Power's got a telephone pole at the back of that building where the cars would come around and go to the drive-through, and Georgia Power's got to move, Did they move
Georgia
it?
Power was down there the other day with it.
Oh, yeah, they're working on it, but have they moved it yet? I haven't gone by there to look. They're waiting on Georgia Power to move that pole back, and they're just about ready to open.
Put that in there.
The drive-through drive entrance is holding, it's been holding up a little bit, but it's about ready to open. Anything else? Mr. Johnson's got a motion.
Got a second.
All right.
Wait a minute, I didn't hear your motion, Mr.
I
Johnson.
said, let's go on.
Mr. Johnson moves that we go home, and Mr. Bloodworth seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.